Update. I-19 male recently found out that my older sister, 34 female, is actually my biological mother. Original post. My older sister, let's call her Rose, and I have a great relationship since I was a baby. We were raised with an amazing adoptive family and she has always taken care of me. I grew up in a very warm and loving environment, but from what I was told, I was lucky. I was told the story of how me and my sister had two drug addict parents who never took care of us. They never bothered feeding us and used to left us at a junkie friend's house for days to go out partying. When my mom was pregnant with me, she smoked and got drunk. Luckily, I turned out pretty fine. And when I was born, my sister was the only one who took care of me. When I was 2 months old, they left us both in a mall and left. We got help from an old couple, who also turned into our adoptive family, and we contacted the police, but my parents weren't at the house, which looked like a homeless cave. We never saw them again, and after several months in foster care, the couple that helped us, throughout the whole way by the way, agreed to adopt us. Today I'm 19 and Rose is 34. I still live with my adoptive family, and she lives about 20 minutes away, so I come and visit her at least 3 to 4 times a week. So a couple of months ago, my friend offered me to take a DNA test to find some information about my heritage, since my sister wouldn't speak of them much. After the results came in, I found out some pretty interesting things, like being 50% Ashkenazi Jew, and I found out later that I had an aunt, 33 female, in the system. I immediately reached out to her, let's call her Janet, and we agreed to meet in person. All that without telling Rose a thing. When we met up, I could see we have some similar characteristics like same hair color and same eyes. We tried to figure things out. So I asked her if she has a brother or sister, and she told me that when she was 13, her 14-year-old sister got pregnant while being drunk with her junkie boyfriend, and a month after giving birth, she ran away with a baby after some pretty intensive fights with her parents. They never found her and stopped looking after 1.5 years. I connected the dots, asked to see a picture of her, so we went to her parents' house. The mom wasn't home, and father died 3 years ago. When I saw the picture, I knew. This was Rose, 100%. Rose is my mom. We were never abandoned. We didn't have junkie parents, and she fabricated the entire thing to me and our adoptive family. I immediately gave Janet a hug and told her that it's too much for me right now and asked her to keep it a secret for now. I went to my best friend's house, told him everything, and for a week now I'm sleeping over at his place. I told my parents and my sister that I'm at his house because he bought a new game that we both wanted for a long time and avoided talking to Rose much. I can't look her in the eyes right now, let alone tell her I know the truth. What the heck am I supposed to do? How should I handle this? Should I tell her I know? Now for the top advice before reading the updates. Keep in mind your aunt was 13 and her view is probably heavily colored by her parents' representation of what happened. Please update us when you can. In my opinion, your sister/mom did what she needed to do in order to make sure she could keep you safe, allow you to grow up normally, have good role models as parents to set good examples for you, and also allow her to stay by your side during your life so she could somehow help raise you/see you grow. What else was she supposed to do given her situation? She was a mom at a young age, but a mom nevertheless. And when maternal instincts kick in, you cut out the things standing in your way from doing what you think is best for your baby. She probably knew her parents would make her give up the baby, something she clearly didn't want. She probably was afraid of the baby being around its father if he was a junkie, which is understandable. And she understood that if she wanted a better life for her child and be involved in the child's life, she needed to get away from people who would try to control her and force her to go down a path she didn't want to go down. Regardless, it sounds like Opie had a good family and support system. It sounds like Opie's real mom got her crap together. She was allowed to turn a new leaf, and the reason she changed her whole life's trajectory was for this baby who is Opie. Do you know how painful it must have been to never say you're the mother of your own child? Everything she did for Opie. I understand it's very confusing right now, but you grew up in a better situation than you would have if she didn't lie. I think it's smart of her to say she's the sister and not the mom. They may not have adopted her if she was the young mom of this baby. She would have potentially lost Opie otherwise. Sounds like she did the best she could for you under the worst conditions. She stayed in your life and protected you. You said you were raised with love and compassion. You could have had a horrible childhood, but you didn't. It's not ideal, but it's not terrible either. You should talk about it with her. I agree. I mean, people are judging her and fail to realize this girl was 14 years old. 14. She did the best she could with her situation. Seriously, this is a person asking for advice. No one should be condemning the mom/sister because it sounds like she tried her hardest in a horrible situation. I sure as hell know I wouldn't have had any idea on what to do if I were in her place. It sounds like she was ashamed of her past and has gotten better but didn't want you to know who she used to be due to the shame. So she made a story up, which is actually probably true in ways, but the mom is her, in order to protect you. I think you should approach this with compassion. She didn't lie to hurt you. She lied because she loved you and hated her past self. It sounds like she dearly loves you and made it incredibly difficult, but right call to give you to an adoptive family so you could have a much better life than she could give. It's a lot to take in, but does it really change that much? You just went from having a loving sister to loving mom, which isn't a big difference, honestly. Many older sister acts like a mother anyways. I think you are gonna be okay. Now for the first update. My best friend just took me out for a movie and a drink. I'm not that drunk right now though. I thank you all so much for your warm replies. Made me look at the situation a bit clearer. I have decided to break it to Rose this week, but I need some time to think about how to tell her I know. I don't know if I should try getting there slowly or just break the news to her somehow. I even considered bringing her sister with me, but I genuinely think she will be pissed. I'll keep updating as soon as I'll decide how to tell her. Right now, going to bed to sleep it over. After seeing some comments asking how the adoption process went, I decided I need to explain some things. First of all, it's worth mentioning that the adoption process wasn't immediate and it took about a year between the time that happy couple found us outside a mall and the time they adopted us. We were in foster care that time and Rose used to keep touch with them and they would come visit us once or twice a week. Or so I'm told. I don't know what to believe now. Eventually, Rose broke down in tears for them and told them she hates foster care and that her little brother, me, would grow up here and she couldn't bear that thought. At the time, they decided to try and adopt her and hired lawyers and stuff, and after a few months it was legal and done. At least that's what I was told. I don't think my adoptive parents knew, but if they did, then that story is probably a lie too. Now for the second and full update. Okay, so I first of all want to thank everyone for your honest replies. It really helped me to get my feelings straight and get ready to confront her. So after a week of avoiding, I came to her house with a picnic basket by surprise, so I'll have a chance to speak with her. She was happy to see me and I told her to sit down because we need to talk. I started things with saying that I know that she has a secret that she's been hiding from me for years. Her face turned red and she started crying like hell. She knew what I was talking about. I told her the story about the DNA test, about Janet, and basically what I told you guys in the last post. Well, after she calmed down a bit, she told me the truth. She told me how she got drunk at a party and slept with one of the jerks who does nothing but tweet every day. He didn't really care about a future kid and was like, yeah, whatever. Apparently, she found out that 10 years ago he was stabbed in prison after sitting for dealing, assault and armed robbery. She told me how her mother used to convince her father to talk me out of the idea of keeping the baby. They would constantly fight with her. When the baby was born, they told her on the spot that she brought shame upon the family, and they will not help raise the baby in any way, meaning she will have to work meanwhile to have money for her baby and sometimes for herself. After a couple of months loaning from her friends and juggling between work and taking care of me, she had a huge fight with her parents and told them that if they are not helping financially and barely in any sort of way, she and me are better off without them. As they sent her to her room, she escaped in the middle of the night, hitchhiked to a neighboring county, and by morning she was already there. She tried to take care of me for a few days. She found an old abandoned house that used to have homeless people coming around every now and then, and she took me to the mall when I started crying. She started crying too. The couple that adopted us immediately came to our aid and asked if we lost our mother. Rose jumped on the opportunity and came up with a story and an alias. Police figured out we are not in the system for multiple reasons. We were raised in foster care for a year and a half until the couple that helped us decided to make the effort and adopt us so we won't be separated. It took them a few months and a couple of lawyers, but they managed to adopt us both. Rose knew all along that our parents are looking for her. They came to their senses after a day or so. She reached out to them and told them in a letter that she's fine and is taking care of herself and me, she's not homeless, and found a nice couple to help her with a baby. She made it clear for them that she's never coming back, and they should stop looking, and a month after that they stopped. A few years later, her father went on a quest to find her. She was past 18, secretly. After so much time searching, he found her and apologized, and after a while she forgave him and kept secretly in touch with him. He met me a few times, and I knew him as one of Rose's old friends from the park. He helped us a few times, and apparently they would meet up once every 2 months secretly. Ironically, I'm glad I got to know him before he passed, even if I didn't know who he really is. By the way, the adoptive family never found out about the whole thing. So after hearing this, I told her we missed a lot by not knowing she is my mother, and I told her I understand she did the right thing. I pulled out an "It's a boy" sign from the picnic basket and some snacks for a late baby shower, and we hugged for an hour or so. Had a lot of fun, watched a movie, and I headed off to my adoptive parents' house to have dinner with them. I'm glad she is my mother. I feel, for the first time in years, complete. I don't care that she lied, because she did it for the greater good, and I honestly can't imagine my life right now if she didn't. Thanks guys for helping me getting my feelings straight and helping me out mentally to cope with everything that happened. So, did they ever tell the adoptive parents? I remember this one. They didn't. The adoptive parents raised both of them, so they're still mom and dad. Probably for the best, to be honest. The adoptive parents never found out that a homeless 14-year-old with a newborn baby was an obvious teen mom. I hope he's hilarious. Of course they knew she was a teen mom lying her butt off. Why would they confront a 14-year-old over her obvious statutory rape if she wanted to hide from the stigma of being a teen mom and claim the newborn was her brother? I hope he's gonna have a shock once he finds out that it takes more than a month to heal from childbirth, and that everyone knew his 14-year-old sister was a teen mom who was lying about it. Exactly. They might not know her full story, but they are aware that she was lying to keep her son and herself safe. They knew enough to know she was in desperate need of help. Adopting them both so they can help her recover and avoid re-traumatizing her by having her baby taken away for replacement? That's a hero move right there. They're quality parents. Now for the last story. How do I tell my sister her toxic marriage is why I don't hang out with her anymore? I, 38 female, am having trouble being there for my sister, 32 female, and I'm not sure how to tell her why. I'm about 2 years out of a 17-year marriage that ended extremely badly. We had issues throughout the relationship, as well as a lot of fun, but the last couple years he was intensely controlling, abusive, and violent. And since he left, I've done a lot of work to recover and get myself in a healthy headspace. My sister went through a rough patch around the same time my divorce started, and I learned way too much about her husband, 37 male, during that period to ever trust him again. They've been together for years, and while he's never been my family's favorite, because he's an insufferable know-it-all, dominates every conversation and generally pretty annoying, we all just dealt with it because she loved him and we're adults. But since their rough patch, I haven't been able to be around him. During that time, he served her with divorce papers and told her he was going to take their 1-year-old baby away and never let my sister see her again. He convinced my sister she would lose in court anyway, to the point that her plan was to give up, sign all the paperwork he gave her, and leave their baby while she moved out of state with our other sister. This all sounds bad, but my sister is extremely naive and also has the worst anxiety I've ever seen. She was convinced she'd lose their baby no matter what, and she was so broken down she didn't have it in her to fight. Anyway, she told me this plan and I successfully talked her out of it, got her a great lawyer, and she was on her way towards accepting their divorce and rebuilding her life when he suddenly changed his mind. And they reconciled and have been acting like everything is fine ever since. During their eventually canceled divorce, my sister was terrified of being homeless and not having anywhere to go. I was starting over too, so our plan was that I'd buy a triplex, and she and her baby could live in one of the units, me in one, and our little brother, 22 male, in the third one. I went ahead with that plan, and have just been renting out my sister's unit and let her know it's there if she needs it. I cannot be around my sister's husband at all. I've seen behind the scenes. I know he's mistreating her emotionally, financially, and I strongly suspect physically too, although she'd never admit it. I am aware that the right thing to do here is support her decision and grin and bear his company, but I can't do it. I get that it's immature of me, but the situation is too much like my own marriage, and I won't be within 100 feet of it. I especially don't want him in my new home, which for 2 years has been a happy, healthy, peaceful, safe zone. My sister basically won't leave the house without this man, because of her anxiety and also his control issues, and they are literally always together. She posted on Instagram a few weeks ago about being sad and confused, about why her family never spends time with her anymore. I'd like to gently explain the situation to her, but I'm not sure how to tactfully say, "It's not you, it's your awful husband we can't stand." Looking for advice on how to softly tell her I'm here if she needs me, but that I'm unwilling to be around her husband. Now for the advice. This is tricky because right now she's in a dangerous phase. The phase where they've reconciled and it's them against the world. Understand first and foremost, anything you say right now will get back to him. My suggestion is to make it clear that you simply want to spend time with just her. Don't say it's an issue with him. Become a broken record and let her make the connection. It's really important to me that you and I can spend time together, just us. Can you find an opportunity for that? She's gonna push. You don't like him? And that's when you say, nope, that's not it. Nothing to do with him. It's really important to me that you and I have opportunities to spend time together. Just us. Keep him out of it. Will it be very obvious that he is the problem? Yes. Can you afford for those words specifically to get back to him? Nope. You lose them both. She will follow him because you'll become the enemy. Ask after him. He's good? Good to hear it. Call her for catch-ups. Make it clear you want the relationship with her. This is not about him, even though, of course, it is. As time goes on and they go into different phases of this cycle, you'll be able to address things more directly. For now, I'd start here. I think this is a very grounded way to do it, and probably the best. Of course, it's about him, but what you are after is to strengthen your relationship with your sister. And taking it day by day, becoming a part of each other's life, will ease you both into coming closer and remind you how precious your bond is. And it will also maybe remind her of who she is, where she comes from, who she is without him. Update. My 57 female daughter, 30 female, is getting married for the third time. I do not want to pay for her wedding. I'd feel like a bad parent. Original story. I should start by saying that my daughter is an only child. She has always been our princess, so to speak, and she's received everything material that a girl could ask for. Before you criticize my husband, her father, and I for spoiling her, we do realize that we shouldn't have given her everything from a young age, but we didn't know any better back then. And we had the money and were quite well off, so we figured why not support our only child. My husband owns his own business and I am a school teacher. Together we make decent money that I'm looking to retire in the near future. When we first started out, I stayed at home and my husband worked an office job, and so my daughter has been pampered with all of my attention and her father's support. She's now going to be married for the third time in her short life. Her only job is occasionally supplying teaching in the same school board I work at, so she doesn't have much of a big career yet, but I do hope she will find work. I'll spare you the long of it. She married her high school boyfriend at 22 years old, and they divorced less than 2 years later in a bitter fight. The wedding was lavish, as it was her first, and we truly believed that they would make it work. I guess my husband and I also saw through rose-colored glasses since we were married very young as well, and are approaching our 35th anniversary. My husband and I pitched in around $25,000 for the wedding ceremony and reception, and perhaps another $3,000 for their honeymoon to Europe. The second time she was proposed to by another man she was dating, he was a hard-working blue-collar man, but his family didn't have much money. Again, she asked if we could help out with her wedding, that it was true love this time around. We met the man that he was a stand-up, wholesome person, and so a year after that, my daughter, then 27, was married to the second husband. We paid for most of the wedding cost at the honeymoon to the tune of $43,000. Her then husband's mother was a nurse, and his father was a deadbeat. They didn't provide much when it came to the wedding itself, and I admit, husband and I did harbor ill will towards the fact that her husband's father's name was clearly printed on the reception and invitations as a generously contributing member of the wedding party. But that's another story. They divorced because of money issues less than 3 years later. We, tired by this time, forked over money for her divorce costs and tried to regroup our finances. We do have a comfortable nest egg saved up for our post-retired life. I would like to travel the world and maybe buy a small lake house with my husband. He also enjoys woodworking as a hobby. But now my daughter, who has begun dating another man, it has exotically showed us that she's engaged once again. The man in question proposed less than a year into their dating, and she's elated more than anything, because after her second divorce, she didn't think any man would want her anymore. My daughter has hinted at wedding costs and brings home bridal magazines and ideas for cakes and dresses and venues. I don't want to be happy for her happiness, but there is a voice inside me that is screaming, enough. We have spent almost over $140,000 of my husband's and my money for my daughter's 2 failed marriages. Wedding, reception, honeymoon costs, divorce costs. And I cannot believe she's thinking of planning another lavish ceremony at our expense. I've tried suggesting maybe this time she should opt for a small backyard ceremony this time, but she turns it around on us and says that we don't believe in her happiness, and that we are being cheap. She's our only daughter, and her father and I are quite well off. Which, to be fair, she is right. I'm at a loss of what to say to her. Now for the top advice before reading the update. You are continuing to feed into your 30-year-old daughter's spoiled princess lifestyle. She should have been thrilled with one wedding, and she got two. Cinderella needs a reality check. When she starts talking about wedding plans, tell her that you and your husband have talked, and your budget will gladly allow you to pay for her cake. If she whines about you not loving her and believing in her happiness but not financing the entire wedding/honeymoon, pull out her 2 wedding albums. Tell her she had planned 2 beautiful, expensive weddings, but all the money spent on that day did not make love develop or grow in those marriages. Money doesn't equal happiness or love. You support her decision to marry this man and will gladly attend the ceremony however/wherever they want to do. But this is not going to be on your dime as you have retirement to plan ahead. So lots of people have told you that you shouldn't pay. What I haven't seen yet is someone saying she will probably throw an epic tantrum when you put your foot down, and you will have to stick it out or she will win. And the next time you try to put your foot down, she'll throw an even bigger tantrum. This is a well-known and researched behavioral phenomenon known as extinction, which is what happens when you stop reinforcing behavior that used to be reinforced. If you don't firmly say no and stick with it, you are forever screwed. She will say mean things. She'll get really nasty. Stay calm and don't budge. This is a 30-year-old toddler that you've created. All the times you didn't say, no, we're going to bite you in the butt here. And I'm saying be ready. Do not let her manipulate you on this one. It's totally in your power not to write that check. For what it's worth, my well-off parents gave me $5,000 for my wedding in 2008, and I would never freaking dream of asking for their financial support for a second wedding. This exactly. The daughter may even hate herself for throwing the tantrum while it's happening, but that's not going to stop it. It will feel like a part of her identity is being lost and will hurt. Just the sort of pain that makes a person better. And avoid a direct, no, I'm not paying, will only make the situation worse. It already sounds like she's suffering from all this spoiling, that she doesn't understand relationships well and might feel she needs one in order to feel good about herself. By continuing to throw money at her, you're enabling her, and continuing the inner mental pain that can only be fixed by growing up, not with money. If you pay for this wedding, start saving for the 4th one. That's what I was thinking. Perhaps being an entitled princess has contributed to the 2 failed marriages. They've raised the monster. Jesus, I feel sorry, not sorry, for them. Now for the update 1 year later. Hello, it's been a long time. I wanted to retroactively thank everyone for the advice and the anger. Must admit that hearing others rage about my situation was pretty cathartic for me. I wasn't going to log back in to post an update. I couldn't even recall the password for this throwaway account. But so many of you gave me excellent advice that I feel I must give an update. Sad as it is. Long story short, my daughter is getting her 3rd divorce. We are no longer in speaking terms, and she has broken our hearts. Short story long, as many of you predicted, she threw a great big tantrum when her father and I told her explicitly that we would not be paying for the wedding this time around. We said we would buy her a wedding dress and a cake, but that would be the end of it. That whatever else she wanted would have to come from her and her husband's pocketbook. She said we don't care for her happiness. She cried. She said that we were selfish. Everything all of you said was going to happen. All these things hurt so much to hear because they aren't true. We do care very much for her, but enough was simply enough. She went so far as to chuck her wedding planner binder to the backyard pool, which was grotesque to watch. We asked to meet the fiancé in question over dinner, and what a gem he was. Tattoos all over his knuckles and his neck. Showed up to meet us in sweatpants and an ill-fitting hoodie. Didn't even shake our hand or introduce himself properly. Looked like a trailer trash. When we asked what his occupation was, he said he was a sound technician, which made me feel embarrassed for being so prejudiced. But after a quick conversation at the dinner table, where he behaved in the most disgusting manner, it turns out that he is a freelance DJ. At 39 years old, I believe one should at least be put together, not living with other roommates and working at clubs on weekends. My daughter, I do not know what was wrong with her. She looked at him with such adoring eyes, as if he were the best thing since sliced bread. We doubted that he could provide for himself, let alone a family. I don't know if this was a sign, but a sign of this man-boy solidified our decision to not finance a drop of our daughter's 3rd wedding. We still agreed to pay for the cake and the dress, but no more. We even had doubts that maybe this thug was only planning to marry our daughter for the money. We assumed it was true, when we found out she had been paying for a few months' worth of his rent that he could not afford to pay out of her own pocket. Like I said, I don't know what was wrong with her. We gave her a budget of $13,000 for a beautiful dress and maybe another $2,000 for the cake. The wedding planning itself was a disaster, as my daughter had a meltdown over every single little thing that went wrong, even though I tried to tell her that she could use the $15,000 budget to plan the entire wedding, instead of just spending it on the dress and the cake alone. That was our intention, that maybe she could scale back the dress and cake for a more humble affair. Maybe it would teach her the value of a dollar. She would not budge. She did not invite us to the wedding, let alone the reception. We don't even know how it was, as we were not shown any photographs afterward. I spent the entire week crying when I found out she had left us out of the wedding party. She came back a few times with a U-Haul and her disgusting husband to take her possessions from our home and moved in with him. While my husband and I were gone on a vacation to New Orleans right before Christmas, we had received several voicemails from our daughter. Her voice was slurring, as if she had been heavily drinking or on drugs. She said that she was going to divorce as he was a freaking deadbeat who couldn't even treat her to a nice dinner. She said she's had to sell her engagement ring to pay the rent, that she's still living with his roommates, and that this is the part that just sends me into anger. If only we had paid for her wedding and helped her buy a home with him. This wasn't even discussed between us. I do not know where she got this idea from, that she would have made this marriage last. If we had given her more money. My God, what have we done? I'm shaking with anger just typing this. My husband wanted to leave her receiving voicemail. I talked him out of it. As far as we know, she has moved forward with a divorce. We will be here for her. We will take her back into our home, but only if she wishes. At this point, we have heard nothing from her, and she does not pick up her phone. It is so easy to blame ourselves for being bad parents, and I just feel so awful. She's our only child, and if any of our nieces or nephews behaved this way to our siblings, we would have cut them out of the family in a second. But we can't. She is our only child, now 31 years old and a thrice divorcee. It pains me so much what has happened over the last year. I feel like I've lost a daughter. Just my impressions here, it isn't the man she wants, it's the wedding themselves. The attention she receives. It seems like she's attracted to that specifically. She's so used to being special that she is trying to increase the number of times, in ways that she feels special. Please, if she does ask to move in with you, and I know you won't be able to say no, have a caveat that she will attend counseling regularly to help her discover the root of her issues. There is something in her life she isn't getting, and she's trying to achieve it by marrying over and over again. A therapist or a psychiatrist may be her only chance. When people are enabled by others for so long, their emotional maturity tends to be stunted. At least that's what I've observed in regards to some of my friends. I am genuinely worried, / curious what will happen to them when their parents aren't able to support them the way they're used to being supported. Yep, this is a result of how a snowflake was raised. Most of the adults I know freaking hate the prospect of having to borrow money from their parents. Princess's entitlement here started long before 30 years old. We will be here for her. We will take her back into our homes, but only if she wishes. I know you think this is going to help her, but have you not yet figured out that this is just another way in which you have enabled her to be responsible? Perhaps you can compromise by requiring she sees a therapist weekly if she lives with you. I'm also sad for her and she needs help. Make it family therapy. You offered her $15,000 after she behaved like that? Are you out of your mind? I feel like I've lost a daughter. This might sound like a difficult truth to hear, but you are not listening. You never had one. You raised a hell spawn. You enabled her. You paid for 2 divorces and weddings. She's 30 years old, for God's sake. Money will not buy love. Hell, $15,000 didn't even buy you a ticket to your own spawn's wedding. That if only we had paid for her wedding and helped her buy a home with him. This wasn't even discussed between us. I do not know where she got this idea from, that she would have made this marriage last. If we had given her more money. You mean nothing to her. Do you not see that? You are a source of easy money. You always have been. All she needs to do is scream and shout and cry, and you'll throw thousands and thousands of dollars at her. Stop giving her money. Do not let her back into your home. Stop enabling this monster that you created. She is not a daughter. She's a cancer. Remove her. Now for the last story. My sister and I stopped speaking after her child-free wedding. Now she wants to attend mine. Family side with her. I'm 26, she's 31. Around the time my sister got married, I had a lot going on. I was divorcing, had 2 kids under 2, and me attending her wedding would require an overnight trip. which I was prepared to do, until I found out with less than a week to go that it was child-free. I called her and said I couldn't make it. She didn't take it well. We both said things we shouldn't have and we both apologized, but when we made up, she asked if I could come to the wedding now, and I said no as the circumstances hadn't changed, at which point the argument started up all over again. The day of the wedding, she sent me a series of messages about how she wanted me there, and she needed some time before we talked next, so I needed to wait for her to contact me. That was 3 years ago, and we still haven't spoken. I got engaged 2 months ago, and we told my family a month ago. One of my parents told my sister, who contacted me. I ignored her because in the last 3 years I've moved on. I'm happy she had her wedding her way, but she knew it would cause issues for me, which is why she told me last minute. She said some things about my kids and me that I can't forgive, and if not for me getting engaged, she might have never reached out to me again, as it's been nearly 3 years. So clearly my ongoing presence in her life is not a big deal to her. I've explained my feelings to my family, but they want me to meet with her, hear her out, and invite her to the wedding. I ask what happens if I don't do that, and their responses have ranged from being mildly put out to not going in solidarity. I've asked where this response was when I couldn't go to her wedding, and they've said it's different because I had an invitation while she doesn't. I don't want to get into a debate about me attending her wedding, or her coming to mine. I just want some advice on how to address this whole issue with my family in regards to them choosing sides, as I would like them to be at my wedding but I'm still not inviting my sister. Now for the top advice. I'm sure some won't agree, but I wouldn't bat an eye at anyone saying they wouldn't go in solidarity. If something that silly will prevent them from showing up to my wedding, it's probably best that they not come. I want people that are supportive at my wedding. Might as well put my efforts and attention into those that deserve it. Amen. Anyone who says they'll boycott your wedding out of solidarity can sure handle the response. If that's how you feel, I agree it's best that you not attend. Or, sorry to hear that, we'll miss you, if you want to be more diplomatic. I mean, I could understand if it was solidarity for good reason, but having a cry because someone didn't invite you to their wedding when you didn't talk to them for 3 years is not a good reason. If they wouldn't attend your wedding just because you won't do what they're demanding of you, then do you really want them there or in your life at all? If you do what they want just to have them at your wedding, they will know they can demand other things of you anytime they want, and they will do so. If you want your sister at your wedding, or if you want to hear what she has to say, then meet up with her. But don't let other people push you into it if it wasn't what you want. I do want them in my life, as they're my family, and I love them and my kids love them. But if having them in my life means having my sister, I would need to think that one over. I don't want my sister there. I don't want to talk to her at all. My other sisters are fine, as are my brothers and most of my family, but I don't want this sister in attendance.